we learned about the notation and we learned about the sign conventions for classical lamination theory. We learned that a straight line which is perpendicular to the undeformed midplane also remains perpendicular even if my midplane is deformed. So this straight line will remain straight. This is the Kirov-Love assumption. This is the starting assumption based on which we will develop our theories for mesomechanics. This theory is sometimes also known as first order shear deformation theory. Why it is first order, that you will find out in the next few slides. Okay. So let us see. So this is a simplified figure of this is a simplified schematic representation of the same figure that I showed in the previous slide. And the only difference is, in the previous slide, the picture was taken from Herakovic. They use alpha. In this, they have used phi x. This, I think, is a more elegant derivation, so I am opting for this one. In this, what you are seeing is there is a undeformed cross section. Certain load was applied. So there was some deformation in the U, V and UV plane. I mean, there is extensional and shear in plane, which leads to U0 and corresponding to V0 also. And there is some bending also. So this straight line AD has become slightly curved at an angle phi x if you are looking at the XZ plane. If you are looking at the YZ plane, this would be V0 and this angle would be phi y. I think it is a little bit abstract, but you can imagine, like, take a piece of paper and try to bend it. It is going to bend. It has the freedom to bend in both the planes. Yes, it can bend both in XY and XZ plane. So this is in the XZ plane. Now, what we want to do is we want to find out the different components of strain in terms of U0, V0 and phi x, phi y, etc., etc. Okay, so what do we do? Then first of all, we write the terms for the three displacements, u, x, y, z. So u is a function of x, y and z, is u0 minus z into phi x. So it is this term minus this term. Okay. If we were to draw the same figure for YZ plane, then we would say V is a function of XYZ, which is equal to V0 XY minus Z phi Y. Okay. We have said that this AD is a straight line, remains straight. So phi X and phi Y are not a function of Z. It is only a function of XY. U, V and W are displacements in the X, Y and Z coordinate axis respectively. Okay, and W is equal to W0 XY. There is no curvature because of our assumptions that we have been making. So from this UVW, do you know how to calculate the strains?
Yes, sir.
How will you do it?
So epsilon x-axis dou u by dou x, epsilon y dou u by dou y.
Correct. So we say epsilon x is del u del x, del u0 del x minus x del phi x del x. Okay. And for the time being, let us call del phi x del x as some term minus kx. Similarly, I have the term for epsilon y, which is epsilon y naught plus z ky, and epsilon z is equal to 0 because it is del w del z, but w is not a function of z. And similarly, I have the different shear strengths. Okay. Is this clear? Look carefully. If there is any doubt, ask me.
Sir, here like after deformation, is the coordinate axis also moving?
No.
No. Okay. And x comma y are the points where we are measuring this displacement.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Is this clear? Can I go to next slide?
Yes, sir.
So now we have strain in the x component is epsilon x naught plus z kx. This epsilon naught x is the strain which is due to in plane deformation. This is due to curvature. This term is due to curvature. Okay. This is just coming from our previous slide. The new definition that we are doing is that kx is minus del phi del x, ky is minus del phi y del y, ks is minus del phi y x. This is just, we are defining it like this. Okay. Basically, these are the curvatures due to the bending load that we might get. Now, we will call all the strain terms with not in the subscript. They are the membrane strains. This is the stretch plus in plane shear in the mid surface. And kx, ky is the change in curvature. It used to be flat when phi x, phi y were 0 and 90. But after applying the load, phi x and phi y are non-zero. They are changing as a function of x and y. This is the curvature of the mid plane. Okay. And z is the distance from the mid plane. So z is positive downwards. We are counting it from the middle of the laminate. Okay. Now, we have made what is known as the Kirchhoff-Love assumption, or sometimes also known as the Kirchhoff approximation or assumption. He says material lines normal to the mid surface before deformation stay normal to the mid surface after deformation and do not stretch. Means line AD remains line AD, it remains straight. Okay. And the length of line AD also does not change. This means that epsilon xz, epsilon yz and epsilon z are actually 0. This is coming straightforward from the Kirchhoff-Love assumption. And we also know, since we have very, very thin plies, all my plies are in a state of plane stress, meaning that sigma xz, sigma yz, sigma z are much, much smaller than sigma x, sigma y, sigma xy. So let us go back to our old previous slide where we had said that 2 epsilon yz is equal to minus phi y plus del w0 del y. But now we know that this is equal to 0. So phi y is equal to actually del w0 by del y. Similarly, phi x is del w0 del x. And curvature was del phi x del x. So our curvature kx is equal to minus del square w0 by del x square. If you recall, this is the standard definition of radius of curvature. Radius of curvature in the x plane, radius of curvature in the y, not plane axis, x axis and y axis. Okay. So now, based on the Kirchhoff approximation, we have found out that strain at any point xyz is equal to mid-plane strain naught, which is a function of xy, plus z into curvature. And we have found out the terms for the curvature. So epsilon is the laminate strain is equal to sum of mid-surface or in-plane strain plus mid-surface curvature into z. Okay. So the laminate deformation, now we know that is a function of mid-plane deformation and distance from the mid-plane, this Z. It does not depend on any other factor. Clear? Or should I repeat the derivation that we have just done?
Yes, sir. Could you repeat, sir?
थोड़ा heavy हो गया? Let us start from this again. So here what we've done is we had a plate. Okay. In that we have made a small cross section. We are interested in this line AD. Okay. As discussed, Z is downwards positive. XY is the plane of a single lamina. We are looking at the XZ plane. A similar figure can also be drawn for the YZ plane. U0 will become V0, phi X will become phi Y. Okay. Now this line AD, after the application of the load, has become this AD. Okay. But we are saying that this line AD is straight, will remain straight. So if I am looking at this point C to start with has now reached this point C. Okay. So what is the deformation at point C? We can say it is U0 minus Z phi X. Similarly, in the V, it would be V0 minus Z phi Y. And W, X, Y, Z is actually only W naught X, Y. It's only the deformation in one plane. Now, based on this, we have calculated the strains. If I know U, V, W, I can calculate the strains in terms of epsilon X, epsilon Y, epsilon Z as partial derivatives of U, V, W, some combination. We can also calculate the shear strains. They come out to be something like as shown in the slide. Then we made another assumption where we said, we didn't make assumption, we made a definition where we said that this term is actually Kx. That del phi x by del x is Kx, del phi y by del phi y is Ky, and so on and so forth. Sometimes they use this term Kxy, sometimes it is also known as Ks. They basically mean the same thing. Okay. So now we have the expressions for the 6 components of strain. But let us try to see if we can simplify it further. To simplify it further, so this is basically rewriting of the results that we have got in the previous slide. These are the 3 strains. These are the 6 strains. This is 3 in plane. These are the 3 out of plane. Okay. So we have said that the total strain in a membrane or in a lamina is stretch plus in plane shear or mid surface. So you have 1 minute. You have membrane strains plus curvature is equal to total strain, where these knots are actually the deformation of the middle plane. If you go back to one slide, basically this is related to this term. If this ABCD would just come here and become ABCD, then what strain would we get? We would get the knot terms that we have described here. And similarly, if this ABCD would go like this, then what deformation can we expect? So it did not move, it just tilted. There was only pure bending. Then what deformation can we expect? We can expect this term. So the total laminate strain is a sum of mid surface or in plane strains plus mid surface or curvature. And it's a linear function of Z. As you go away from your centroid, from where you have measured the Z axis, the strain is going to linearly increase or decrease depending on the value of kxy, which is the curvature. Okay, is it clearer now?
Yes, sir.
And of course, we have made some assumptions that this line AD is straight, remains straight, and the length of AD does not change. This is the Kirov-Love approximation or assumption. So because of this, we have these three terms equal to 0. And because we know the expressions for epsilon xz, epsilon yz, epsilon z, equating it to 0, we can find out the expression for the change in angle. This phi x, we can find out expressions for phi x and phi y, which comes out to be this. So the curvature ultimately we have calculated is the second derivative of w naught over x square, over x, sorry. And curvature y is second derivative of w naught over y.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, after applying Kirchhoff law, how these terms are zero, that I'm not getting, sir.
Kirchhoff said that this line AD is straight, will remain straight. So this is straight, will remain straight, and the length will not change. The strain
Yes.
in the z direction is change of length in AD divided by initial length AD, that is strain in the z direction. But according to Kirchhoff-Love assumption, that is not changing. So epsilon z is 0. And similarly, shear strain is how this line AD's shape is changing. If it is AD is straight, remains straight, then there is no shear.
Yes, sir. Understood, sir. Thank you.
So now if we know the expression for strain, which we have found out to be this, if we multiply it with qk is the apparent stiffness of the kth layer. So stress in the kth layer is equal to apparent stiffness of the kth layer into the mid-plane strain plus strain due to curvature. And there is a z is linear. So it linearly increases or decreases as you go away from the centroid, z measured from the centroid. So we have a system, let's say I have a laminate with multiple layers 1, 2, 3, 4 dot dot dot. The strain is varying linearly. It is epsilon 0 plus z into k, z into curvature. So it is not necessary that it will be 0 at the centroid, because epsilon naught plus zk is equal to 0. So you'll have some non-zero value of zk. But this is a linear variation. And the stiffness or the characteristic moduli also could change in layer by layer. So we are saying that layer 1 has low stiffness, layer 2 has high, layer 4 has high, so on and so forth. And if I multiply these two, I will get the stress at every layer, which comes out to be like this. Remember that when you are looking for, when you are doing bending for isotropic materials, you have similar results. Only thing is that the characteristic moduli was same everywhere. Every layer did not have its own apparent stiffness. So these values were not different, but we are having different here. But more or less your results are very similar. This is the first important result that we are getting from our classical lamination theory. Any questions on this? Okay, if not, then let's move forward. This I'm sure you guys remember, yes? What is this term? This we have discussed in detail. And why we are only looking at sigma x, sigma y, sigma xy? Why not sigma z, sigma xz, sigma yz?
So we are considering plane stress assumption.
Plane stress assumptions.
Yes, yes. So But this does not solve our problem. We are not looking for a relationship between stress and strain. This is nice to have, but most of the times we are interested in a relationship where, certain traction or bending load is applied to my plate, and then what are the stresses and strains. That is more interesting to us. So let us see how we can take this forward and calculate the stresses and strains. Okay, so the traction is integration of minus t by 2 to plus t by 2 into 2 sigma x dz. So if I know the stress, if I integrate it over the entire length, then I am getting traction force per unit length. Similarly, I can get the applied force in the y direction, applied force in the xy direction. I have to take the relevant quantities of stress, integrate it over minus t by 2 to plus t by 2, where t is the thickness. We are doing minus t by 2 to plus t by 2 because the coordinate axis system is chosen that the z is at the center of the lamina. So in short, the traction is integration minus t by 2 to plus t by 2 sigma dz. Similarly, the resultant moment you can calculate by doing sigma into z dz integrated over minus t by 2 to plus t by 2. We want to relate the forces and moments to the deformation of the mid surface. That is the aim of the classical lamination theory. Okay, and this figure show you when I say nx, nxy, what type of tractions and bending moments we are talking about. For example, mx is, so this is the x-axis, mx is trying to bend it like this, and mxy is trying to bend like this. Recall that when you were doing bending of beam, there was only one bending moment that was possible. But since we are looking at a plate here, at least three different bending moments are possible: mx, my, mxy. Okay. Did you study all this? Did you study the Timoshenko plate theory in your applied elasticity course?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. So we know how to calculate sigma x, sigma y, sigma xy in terms of the displacements. We now know how to calculate the traction and the bending moment in terms of sigma. Let us try to combine both the results and see what do we get. So if I have a layered structure like this, middle surface is this, z is positive downward. We have z0 from the top, z1, z2, zk1 dot 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 zn, layer number n. Then I know that, then I can calculate in terms of thickness also. Zk is equal to zk minus 1 plus tk. Z naught is equal to minus t by 2. This is just coming from the sign convention that we have used. Now, in my previous slide, I have said n is equal to summation sigma k dz, m is equal to sigma k z dz. So we can write our equation in this concise form like this, that n comma n, m is equal to sigma k into 1 comma z. If I want the first term, I will use the first term in the bracket in both the cases. If I am interested in the second term, I have to use the second term in both the brackets. I will integrate it over each layer and add up the different layers. We are saying that each layer, every layer might have different properties, but each layer is having the same property. So we can integrate over every layer and then we'll sum up for the different layers. Based on this, we are getting n comma m is equal to summation k is equal to 1 to n. Capital N is the number of layers, not to be confused with n with the line below. This is traction. This n is the total number of layers. Qk is the apparent stiffness into epsilon 0, which is the strain, integration 1 z dz into curvature z square dz. So if I'm looking for the expression for m, it will be this term into epsilon 0 z dz, because it is the second term in the bracket. So I will also look at second term in the bracket. Similarly, this will be z square dz. Okay. Or we can write our expressions in this term. So integration of 1 dz is equal to zk minus 1. Integration of z dz is equal to half zk square minus zk minus 1 square. And similarly, z square I can write. So if I put all of this into a matrix format, this relationship I'm getting. N comma m is equal to some 6 by 6 matrix into strain and curvature, where these are the terms for Aij, Bij, Dij. This is coming from our previous slide, where I have said that this integration terms, if I add up, I will get this term, and this term, if I put in my previous slide, I am getting terms for A, B, and D. This is the most important relationship that we are developing in our classical lamination theory. Any questions about this? Please watch this slide carefully, spend a minute or two, make sure you understand it properly. This is very important. Is this clear? Can I go to next slide, or you want me to go few slides back?
Can you go just one slide back on the previous slide?
Okay.
Sir, how did you transition between the last two equations? Means from the second equation to third equation on this page?
This equation to this equation, is it?
Yes, sir.
Sigma is equal to epsilon 0 plus k into z. I have added that equation here. The sigma has been replaced by the relationship that we have derived previously, epsilon naught plus k into z. So 1 comma z has become z comma z square. Okay. So this is sigma k, where it is in the kth layer. Again, don't confuse this k with this special sign which we have used for curvature. Sigma k is the stress in the kth layer. Stress in the kth layer is equal to epsilon naught plus curvature k into z. If you put this in this equation, you will get this. Okay, is this clear?
Sir,
Yes, sir.
sir, we should be having nx, ny. No, sir. So here, where, do we only
so,
consider one nx?
No. M is a 6 by 6 matrix. Na? Just like N
Okay.
is a 3 by 1, M is 3 by 1.
Okay, okay.
Just like Q is a 3 by 3 matrix.
Yes.
This is a concise way of writing a big equation. The complete equation can be written like this also, like it is written in this. Nx, ny, nz. These are the three mid-plane strains, and these are the curvatures. You can write it like this also. Now look at this slide carefully and tell me, out of Aij, Bij, and Dij, which will depend which matrix. So Aij is also a 3 by 3 matrix, correct? It is this term. If I know Qij for the kth layer, and if I know the Qij for all the layers, I can calculate Aij, which is actually this. Similarly, B and D. Now the question to you is, out of A, B and D, which quantities depend on how you stack up and which quantities do not depend on how you stack up? I mean, let's say I put 0, 45, 90, or if I put 0, 90, 45, in which in these two cases, Aij, Bij, Dij, which is same, which is not same. Q of 0 degree is different than Q of 90 degree is different than Q of 45 degrees. So every layer I am having a different value of Q, which is the apparent stiffness. Case 1 I put 0, 45, 90. Case 2 I put 0, 90, 45. Can anybody tell me? A is equal to summation of Qij into Zk minus Zk minus 1. What is Zk minus Zk minus 1? Is the thickness. Yes?
Yes, sir.
So we are doing stiffness into thickness. There is no question of which is laid first, which is laid second. So A is independent of how you lay up the plies. B and D are not independent because you are doing Zk square minus Zk k minus 1 square. Got it or not?
Sir, how does that Zk square minus Zk minus 1 square make it dependent on the ply orientation?
Because in the Aij we have done stiffness into thickness, summation of stiffness into thickness. There is no question of which was first, which is not first. In the second one we are doing, so okay, let's write it down. No? Let's say my layup sequence is 0, 45. Okay, let's put it 0, 45, simple. Okay. So what will be Bij? Bij will be equal to, there is no space, where can I write? 1 minute. Huh? New slide. So I have a sequence which is, let's say, 0, 45. And I have, so basically my layup is like this. And it is measured from here. This is Z0. This is Z1. This is equal to Z2. Correct? So Aij is equal to Q of 0 into Z0 minus Z1 plus Q 45 into Z1 minus Z2. Yes or no? Now let's do Bij is equal to half Q for the 0th into Z0 square minus Z1 square plus Q 45 into Z1 square minus Z2 square. Okay, let's call this thickness T0. Let's call this thickness T45. Okay, and dot dot dot. I mean, if there was another layer here, dot dot dot. If there was another layer here, then there is another. I mean, we keep on adding multiple terms. What is Z0 minus Z1 is equal to T0. Z1 minus Z2 is T45. So it is apparent stiffness into thickness plus apparent stiffness into thickness. It does not matter 0 was first or 45 was first, Aij will remain same. Now Bij, if we flip that, instead of, let's say, putting 0, 45, if we put 45, 0, then what would happen? It would be half Q0, not Q0. Now it becomes Q45 into Z0 square minus Z1 square dot dot dot. It changes. This is for if my layup sequence was 45, 0. Okay. This line and this, they are not equal. But Aij will come out to be equal. It will just be Q0 into thickness. Because of this square term, Bij is dependent on the layup sequence, Aij is independent of the layup sequence. Similarly, also for D matrix. D is dependent on the, because we are not subtracting Z0 minus Z1, we are subtracting the cube and we are subtracting the square. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, if you look at this, what does the B matrix signify? Look at this. So here, this gives you, capital N, capital M is equal to the ABD matrix is given and the strains are given. What does A12 signify? A12 signifies the deformation in the transverse direction when the loading is in the X direction. Can I write Nx is equal to A11 into epsilon 1 plus A12 into epsilon 2 plus A16 into epsilon xy plus B11 into curvature dot dot dot. What is Nx? Let's go again one slide back. What is Nx? Nx is equal to A11 into epsilon naught, A12 into epsilon y naught, A16 into epsilon naught s plus B11 into curvature plus B12 into curvature y plus B16 into curvature in the 1/6 direction. Okay. So what is this term 1, 2 showing? 1, 2 is the contribution of strain in the 2 direction to the traction in the 1 direction. Similarly, A16 is the contribution of shear strain to the normal traction. A1, this arrow gives me the direction of the traction, Nx. This dotted line is giving me what displacement is this A12 depicting. So different terms of my ABD matrix gives me different type of deformation. Is contributing to different type of deformation. For example, even though I am applying a normal traction Nx, my laminate might bend if B11 is not equal to 0. Or similarly, it might also twist if B16 not equal to 0. Is this clear? Yes? If it is not clear, don't worry, we will solve multiple numerical problems. By the time we are through, I'm sure you will understand this. This is slightly abstract, but don't worry. Which now brings me to our, so in our term project, how many subroutines or assignments have you written?
2.
3, sir.
3, hai na? The fourth part is
3, sir.
3, I think 3. So the fourth part is, now you have to now a certain layup sequence will be given. Let's say it is given to you that the first layer is 0, second layer is 45, dot, dot, dot. There are n layers. Now, based on that, you have to calculate the A, B, and D matrix. So, first of all, using fiber and matrix properties are given. Using rule of mixtures, you have calculated the engineering constants. Then you have made the Q matrix. Then you learned how to rotate the Q matrix. Now, using all of that, if the thickness of a certain layer is given and the lamina sequence is given, you have to write the subroutine to calculate A, B, and D matrix. Is it clear? You know, I mean, your code can calculate the Q matrix for kth layer provided the orientation is given. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, if the layup sequence is given, for every layer you have to do Q into Zk minus 1 and add it up. Every layer can and will have a different value of Qij because it can have different orientation. Based on this, you have to calculate A, B, and D matrix. So the subroutine where you are trying to rotate will have to be called n number of times if there are n number of layers.
Okay, sir.
Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, so please start to work on this. Thursday, we will continue our discussion on the classical lamination theory. We will try to understand we will have few practical examples or step-by-step examples of how A, B, and D matrix can be calculated. And then we will try to see if we can calculate the stress in every layer based on the applied load. And based on that, can we predict whether or not my layers are going to fail, etc., etc. We'll also learn how to design a layup sequence. Can we randomly put 0, 45, 90, whatever we like, or there are some rules, and what is the logic behind those rules? So that sort of discussion. Tomorrow is holiday, I think. So we will meet on Thursday morning. Okay?
Sir, could you please upload this presentation, this PPT, so we can go
This-
through it?
It is not completed actually. I mean, we'll add more slides to it.
Sir, is there any book from where we can refer?
Herakovich, the book by Herakovich is very nice.
Okay.
In fact, this classical lamination theory is very, very common. Every textbook will have to discuss this. This is one of the key parts. There is also a very nice NPTEL course by Professor P.M. Mohite of IIT Kanpur, where he discusses classical. So just type Mechanics of Composites NPTEL. I think few courses will come where their handout materials are nice. That also is nice. The book by Herakovich is nice. There's another book by Robert M. Jones. I think the Cox formulation is not in every book, but what we are learning from now will be in every book.